Welcome back to 2A News Now, and if you're new to the channel, my name is Troy, and I really do appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. An Oklahoma State Representative wants ATF agents arrested that raided the home of an FFL. Just to give you a little bit of backstory, back in July I posted a video about a gentleman whose name is Russell Fincher, and he's a home-based FFL. He's a high school history teacher and a Baptist pastor, and he also coaches Little League, and he's a part-time gun dealer. And he doesn't have a brick and mortar store. He runs his FFL out of his home, but he sells most of his firearms at gun shows. In April, he received a call from the ATF, and they wanted to come to his home to do an inspection. He told them they're welcome at any time. 2 ATF inspectors arrived at his home a few days later. They spent 3 hours at his home. They used their cell phones to unconstitutionally take pictures of his 4473 forms. The inspectors returned 2 weeks later and said they had some concerns involving Mr. Fincher's penmanship, which they couldn't read on a couple of the forms. And on one of the forms, he made a mistake and put the serial number where the model number goes and vice versa, which Mr. Fincher was attempting to fix. On June 16th, Fincher and his son were packing for a gun show when his phone rang, and it was the ATF. They said they wanted to talk to him before he left for the gun show. And of course my question was, how do they know he's going to the gun show unless they're watching him? The ATF agent asked if they could come to the house, and they told him sure, come on over. But what Mr. Fincher didn't expect was 7 vehicles speeding up to his residence, and a dozen ATF agents wearing tactical gear, armed with AR-15s. When he walked out of the house onto his porch, they handcuffed him, and by the way, in front of his 13-year-old son. They held him on the porch for an hour. He said numerous agents yelled at him for what he was doing. And finally he said he had had enough and he gave in. He said, if you want my FFL, you can have it. And one of the agents pulled out some paperwork and told him to sign here. And he did, giving up his FFL. And as soon as he signed the paperwork to relinquish his FFL, and not just some of them, but all of them, totaling around 50 firearms, with the estimated value between $50,000 and $60,000. Now that we have that backstory, let's talk about what's going on now. Oklahoma State Representative Hustin Humphrey is requesting numerous agents from the ATF be arrested for their involvement in an unlawful raid on a gun dealer and resulted in the seizure of more than 50 firearms. Humphrey has filed an affidavit with the Oklahoma Attorney General's office detailing his suspicions about the agents who conducted the June 16th raid on the house of FFL holder Russell Fincher. Representative Humphrey said he has also been cooperating with the Sheriff's Office in Pushmahada County, where the raid took place. Together with the Sheriff's Office, he has requested that Oklahoma Attorney General Gentner Drummond launch an inquiry against the ATF agents for extortion, terrorist threats, and abuse of their official capacity. Humphrey said, when you abuse your law enforcement position, I think you ought to be arrested. The ATF justified taking Mr. Fincher's firearms, saying they were evidence. The ATF knows that somebody like Mr. Fincher, who's a part-time FFL, most likely doesn't have the money to fight Biden's ATF to try to get his firearms returned. ATF agents misused their authority by forcing Mr. Fincher to surrender his FFL and other valuables. The ATF clearly did not state which crime, if any, Mr. Fincher was accused of when the agency conducted its raid. We all know what the ATF did to Mr. Fincher is unconstitutional. There is no reason for them to seize his personal firearms, which included some very expensive collectibles. And hopefully the Oklahoma State Representative, along with the Sheriff and the Attorney General of the state, can charge these rogue ATF agents with a crime, and them get their day in court, and them being convicted and do some jail time. That would definitely send a message to Biden's ATF that they can't do what they want and circumvent the Constitution and the Second Amendment. Let me know your thoughts on today's video in the comments section down below. And I appreciate everybody's support with the channel. And I invite everybody back to see my next video.